Welcome to the Future of Supply Chain, presented by Dynamo. Each episode, we sit down with leaders in the industry as we build the future of supply chain together. Let's get into the show. Here's our host, Santosh Sankar.
Hey, ladies and gents, welcome back to the Future Supply Chain podcast. I'm your host, Santosh Sankar, and joining me today is Andrei Danescu, co-founder and CEO of Dexter Robotics. Welcome, Andrei.
Great to be here. Thanks a lot for having me.
So, Andrei, I'm thrilled to have you on. You and the team are combining robotics with real-world data to optimize warehouse operations and deliver efficiencies. And we're going to jump into that in detail through our conversation here. But I'm, I guess, most curious about, at least at this point, what's your story? How did you kind of get in the world of supply chain, warehouses, robotics, and now kind of building a market leader in the space, so to speak, being based in Europe?
So I'll take the compliment. Thanks a lot for that. I'll start backwards. So robotics has been my big passion throughout my entire life. And as I went through school, I've sort of like built various simpler systems, so to speak. And then I got into more and more complex things. And actually, I sort of went away from robotics at a point in my career as I got very interested in cars, in racing cars. And I was very passionate about speed and the world of Formula One. And it's actually the world of Formula One where I was, it was my first job out of uni after finishing my master's, where I had this exposure to the speed and the power of turning data, real-time data, into insights and making those split-second decisions. So that fascinated me. And the other bit that fascinated me was the complex supply chain, the complex logistics that you have with something like F1, which is a global event. So you end up flying these cars, flying the teams, flying all these parts from the world, and everything works almost perfectly. And I'll say almost perfectly because we actually had a couple of events where parts were delayed and there were small issues which had a massive impact on us as a team. So I remember a clear discussion with one of the supply chain guys, and I said, "Look, we're talking about the pinnacle of motor racing. We have tons of data. Surely you guys must know everything that goes on everywhere." And he looked at me. He looked at me with a puzzled face and said, "No, it's not like that." So I think that kind of stuck with me throughout the years. And if we fast forward where we are today, as we've built Dexory, we looked at how can you use robotics, how can you use autonomous systems to collect information from this offline environments, and how can you use that information to enable businesses to make these decisions, to drive that level of visibility and that level of performance into a company. So that was the foundation on which we built Dexory. And then the application for supply chain, the application for logistics actually came from the market. So we had some engagement with the market, and we had a lot of people in this industry coming to us and saying, "Hey, can we adapt? Can we use this technology to drive visibility, to drive performances in our warehouses, and then across the wider supply chain?" So it was always a combination. It wasn't anything magical. It was working closely with customers, understanding their problem, and the availability of technology that brought us here.
Let me kind of go back to your formative years, right? As you're developing curiosity around robotics, do you kind of remember that moment where you became fascinated with kind of this electromechanical thing that could conduct work similar to a human, if not at the same level of a human? Like what was that moment like growing up?
That's a good question. I think it's a difficult question because I was, I grew up with being passionate about technology and sci-fi, and I've always loved, futuristic movies and so on. And I think it wasn't necessarily the automation side of robotics, but it was that ability to create this electromechanical system that then will do something. And obviously, as you grow up as a kid, it doesn't really do much. But as you evolve, you build something with your own hands, and you have that satisfaction, that almost that creator satisfaction that it's actually moving. It's actually you built something out of a bunch of materials, and it's now doing a different function, and that was very, very exciting.
So let's jump into the nuts and bolts of Dextery, right? And you've alluded to some of this, but I want to be kind of explicit as I walk through because in our audience are, Fortune 500 level buyers, investors. There are a lot of stakeholders here. And so I guess first and foremost, what's the problem at the core you're solving for your customers? When you show up, what are they generally telling you that they're struggling with solving or managing through?
So if you go very very deep at the core of the problem, if I were to define it in a single sentence or in a relatively simple way, I would say it's the problem of lack of visibility and lack of consistent data in order to make
Mm,
those accurate decisions. Now, if you expand on that, if you look at the supply chain and the logistics industry as we have it today, warehouses are the beating heart of that industry. We have pretty good visibility across moving goods around, and we have GPS and we have systems that allow us to acquire information. Once these goods go into warehouses, it becomes really, really difficult to get that real-time visibility and to close the gap. So when we speak to customers, this is probably the underlying issue. Is like it's incredibly hard, if not impossible, to actually get the data and then process that into information, into insights in a meaningful time frame in order to make those split-second decisions, not even split-second, but in order to make decisions that drive the industry to 100% efficiency.
amazing. And you have both a robot and then what you call Dextery View. Like, how do they help together solve this problem around capturing the right data to then make good decisions or great decisions with?
Yeah, so again, working very closely with customers, and looking at the problem that people were putting forward, we realized that it's not enough to have a robot that goes around warehouses and acquires data, and also that it's not enough to have a software platform. Dexter reviews a digital twin platform that can build a digital copy of your warehouse, but does not have the ability to keep it up to date. So the reason why
Mm.
we have an autonomous robot, it's the world's tallest autonomous robot. We're very proud of that.
How
Um,
tall is it?
so it's 14 meters in the current production version. That's 46 feet, I think. So relatively tall, I would say.
Yeah, that's tall.
Um, it's tall enough to be able to scan the entire height of a warehouse shelf, and that's another feature that came from the industry. People wanted to be able to acquire the information, the data, run their entire warehouse at least once a day. And what we realized is that it's not enough to have a robot that gathers the information. It's incredibly important to process this data and to be able to give our customers visibility and access to this information as the scans are happening. So
Mm.
that's why we have these two big pieces of puzzle, which together form Dexter Review, form the product that we offer our customers.
And like, are there telltale signs for our listeners who might be prospective customers that they should be turning to you? Like, what are the types of things that they might be facing? Lack of visibility, maybe cost overruns, inaccurate cycle counts. Are there certain telltales that like people who are listening are like, oh yeah, that's me. Maybe I should give Andrei a phone call.
I think all of the above, again, to put it lightly. So anyone that runs a warehouse faces a continuous challenge in terms of errors that accumulate in a warehouse, which is normal. Like, we're all humans, everyone makes mistakes, and even the best run warehouses struggle, because when you look at existing technology, you look at the WMS, you look at the general infrastructure that we have now, it's all open loop. So there's no way of actually acquiring the information, the ground truth, and closing that loop, basically eliminating all these operational errors. And that's where we come into play. By leveraging this technology, we found for some of our customers, missing stock, for example, worth well over 150,000, in less than 2 weeks. We're looking at the ROI of the system, that even if you work out the ROI over a 3-year contract, we've had customers that achieve that in 2 months, 2.5 months. So they can really operate, not just operate at the ultimate efficiency 99.99% once, but kind of keep that consistent level throughout the duration of leveraging the technology, of course.
And what is the ROI, or how does the ROI manifest itself for your customers? Where are they seeing improvements? How do they think about, going to the CFO and saying, look how amazing this investment is?
So I think that's a good question, and it varies a little bit based on the type of operation that our customers or prospective customers would have. Because the way we model it, you can have a high volume warehouse, you can have a high velocity or a high value operation. So it depends a little bit, but what we're seeing is basically giving the existing teams superpowers. We're giving them ultimate visibility. They don't need to go walking through the warehouse. They don't need to go hunting down information and operational data. They have access to this information at their fingertips. Like, they can log into Dexter Review, they can see exactly what's going on through the operation, which frees them a huge amount of time. So when you look at it, we all know the big challenges that we're facing in supply chain and logistics. There's massive labor shortage. The teams are overburdened. There's never enough time to cover everything. So by leveraging Dexter Review, you have access to this information, and you can make those split-second decisions. You can make decisions straight away. You either want to fix them in additional systems that you might have, or you might be wanting to move the goods around the warehouse. If you find that you're storing them in, let's say, inappropriate conditions, maybe it's a bit too humid, maybe it's a bit too warm in that part of the warehouse, you can have this visibility to run your operation in the best way possible.
Understood. And to kind of wrap this up, would love to hear kind of a case study from one of your customers, so we could put all these pieces together with kind of that real world context and underpinning.
So I think just to open this up a little bit wider, you can obviously there's a bunch of case studies on our website, so you can go and find a number of these. But I think if we were to look at one, we can probably refer to a good case study with one of our customers, Unipart. Prior to Dexter Review, they were very, very manually driven processes. There was a lot of time-consuming tasks, and as we all know, customers are more and more demanding all the time. So actually, customers that leverage space in warehouses want better visibility. They want to really know what's going on, how their goods are being stored, and also not just stored, how their goods are being processed, and what attention is being paid to them. So when you look at bringing Dexter Review, we've reduced the time spent by teams and an ad hoc request by over 30%. In the first month of deploying this, it's also very well in line with Unipart's culture for innovation and operational excellence. And it enables them to retrain a large number of their staff from, the manual way of going through the warehouse and trying to access the information right there, into becoming data analysts, into understanding how to process information in digital format, how to use the latest technology, and what we're going to be bringing in terms of AI, how to leverage that in order to transform their operations.
So I'm going to kind of transition here and go kind of one level higher from Dexery. You mentioned Unipart. You have the benefit of working with customers like Maersk, Schenker, amongst others. And so I'd be curious, like, how do you think about the state of the warehousing robotics market in Europe, right? And I guess more specifically, how has kind of COVID era buyer behavior changed, or maybe not changed, with what you're experiencing now? Because at least in the US, we saw a big rush to go earmark budget to do this stuff. And a lot of that was, frankly, hot air as we saw volumes start to normalize back and kind of dealt with the post COVID hangover. Any thoughts or observations related to Europe?
So I think we've had a similar spike and change in behavior from warehouse operators in the logistics industry in Europe as well. I think what's beneficial out of that is that a lot of the businesses were prompted and were forced to look at adopting technology much faster. So when you look at the wider supply chain and the logistics industry, relatively traditional industry, I think COVID really catalyzed technological adoption and latest technology adoption. And I think that's a good thing, because yes, okay, fine, things have normalized to some extent post-COVID, but the reality of labor shortage and space shortage, and more so than ever now, the inefficient use of resources has remained. So doing things the way we used to do is just not good enough, which kind of opening up the door to technology helps improve on so many different levels of the day-to-day operation. And we have customers both in the US and Europe. We're probably in the region of 50-50 now. And we're seeing a very, very fast and quick adoption in the US. And we're seeing a lot of value that's being derived from using this technology, and that's across both Europe and the US, because at the end of the day, it is the supply chain, the logistics industry, right?
And are buyers kind of focused on solving certain problems using warehouse robotics over others? Kind of what's the flavor of the month, if you would, right now?
I think people are a lot more savvy to the technological capabilities and using the right tool for the right job. So if you take this a few years back and we look at how things were in the past, I think there was a lot of excitement for a lot of new technologies. But automation is not the final answer for everything, right? Automation needs to be applied in the right parts of the business, and then it needs to be complemented with other technologies, with real-time data, with orchestration systems, optimization systems. So I think it's the right combination that really brings that ultimate business value. What we're seeing now is we're seeing customers that are very excited about real-time data, about visibility, and using data insights to really drive that robustness and drive the resilience in their operation. I think that's one of the most impactful and powerful ways in which customers are looking at our technology and other technologies in this space. I think robotics is a key enabler, but you can have the best robotic technology in the world if you don't have your data infrastructure and your digital infrastructure up to speed. It's just going to be bringing efficiency to something that will plateau. So you're going to hit a plateau post which just the best robotics technology in the world is not going to be enough.
Do you think ROI expectations have changed from when you started Dexory to where we are today?
100%.
Kind of at a macro level?
Yeah, I think people. That's what I was saying earlier as well. Customers are a lot more savvy in terms of what the various types of technologies can return in terms of ROI, and I think the expectations are definitely changing. I think the market's is evolving and is also maturing from that point of view. I think it's a lot less. People are not really interested in doing a pilot anymore. Yeah, and this has been a very good experience we've had. People are interested in scaling this technology across multiple sites across their entire estate. If you're not capable of producing results quickly and you're not capable of bringing a technology that can scale, a lot of customers are going to get. I think they're going to get disinterested very quickly. Because everyone realizes, it's fun to do a pilot, it's exciting, but the real value is when you can actually bring this technology across the wider business and the wider operation.
So does that suggest that maybe ROI expectations have gone up a bit as they become savvier and know kind of which situations they apply which type of technology?
I would say yes. ROI expectations have gone higher, but also KPIs have become stricter and more stringent as well.
And then to wrap up this topic, have you seen kind of from your perspective any differences around like OpEx versus CapEx purchasing preferences? Obviously, as the VCs, we love the whole OpEx and the notion of recurring revenue, but some of these sophisticated buyers of this type of product are, very tried and true to the CapEx model because it's just really interest rate arbitrage, right? At the end of the day. So
yeah,
thoughts?
I would say we've seen differences and we've seen customers asking for both, to be honest. I think from our point of view, we are 100% OpEx from the way we offer our technology. But different types of robotic systems can benefit sometimes more from a blend of OpEx and CapEx. I think because our technology is very, very new in the market, and there's no one really in the world that can offer something similar. When you look at Dexter, if you look at all the optimization orchestration features we have, I think OpEx is preferred because it's a lot easier to adopt. So for us, the decision to go a lot heavier on the OpEx side is to also increase the speed of adoption, because we believe very, very thoroughly in the value we bring to our customers. So we're not interested in trying to charge them up front and then basically run off a service fee or anything like that. We are developing this technology. We're bringing them additional value with every release we do, and we are obviously partnering on this journey with them for the long run.
So stepping back, right? What's the grand vision in your head for Dexory? What is its place as we think about the future of supply chain?
That's very excited to talk about all the time, because for us, the way we look at the technology is we build Dexory as a full stack company. And that means that we obviously have complete control over every bit of the product development, both on the robotic side, but primarily and most importantly on the software that brings direct value to customers, the software that people interact with. And our ambition is to create a company that really transforms the industry, that brings this level of digital infrastructure and data-driven insights and data-driven decision making, and democratizing it and bringing it to everyone that runs warehouses, to everyone that operates in the logistics industry. We're very excited to have a technology that brings a huge amount of value now, but most importantly, to have a technology that allows us to exponentially increase this value for the future with, like I was telling you, new optimization features, new orchestration features. So other robotics technology coming into the space can leverage all the work we're doing now. And as you know, as a species, we as humans can benefit from a much more robust, reliable, and resilient supply chain.
Amazing. Well, look forward to continue observing and watching from the sideline here. Um, Kind of jumping back to kind of broader industry talk. What's your take on all of the foundational advancements coming out of NVIDIA? Like NVIDIA's maybe the single entity making robotics and industrial automation interesting and sexy. And maybe a lot of people will say again, because we did have a wave of that previously. But what I'd be curious about is like, what is hype? What is reality? What is actually substance versus what is narrative that they're pushing out into the ecosystem?
So I think I'm a little bit biased here because I love NVIDIA as a company. I'm a big Jensen fan, and I think they've built an incredible business. Leaving the AI sort of like and the chips and all that stuff. I think the interest and the work they're doing to promote the industrial applications, exactly like you said, I think is incredibly beneficial for the wider industry, whether it's robotics in an AMR form or intelligent arms manipulation. It's end to end. I think when you look at it, there's a lot of different types of robots, and I think NVIDIA has approached it from giving this technology the power to reason, the power to be able to use the data and the insights they gather through different sensors, because they make chips, right? They don't make sensors or anything like that. But bringing this power of reasoning, bringing this power of operating reliably and robustly over long periods of time in these complex environments. And I think that's super powerful and very important. We had a lot of discussions, and there was a big hype for autonomous cars. And again, NVIDIA played a crucial role in there as well, because without having the ability to transform the information into insights to give these robots the power to reason about their environment, it's just not going to work. I think it's incredibly important to not forget that we're not focusing on a pilot here. And this is a big part of the work we're doing at Dexory. Our robots need to operate seamlessly, consistently for years in very difficult and very dynamic environments. And I think this is where the NVIDIA approach is very interesting. I think there's a lot of talk about the omniverse, and for us looking at Dexter, if you're looking at the digital twin we have, we have real world data, and then our real world data it gets in the future will fit very nicely with wider omniverse style environments to bring that level of realism to enable a much wider variety of robots to operate really well. So I think also when you look back at some of the progress that comes out of NVIDIA, the reality is they have efficient processing chips. They are doing a lot of work to support the wider community as well. We're partnering in some of the sponsorship programs that we do. And these advancements may not be, fundamental robotic technology, but they become fundamental robotic technology when you look at the applications in which these robots need to be a part of, or the environments in which they need to operate.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Just why we're here, right? I don't think anybody would really gather that, or necessarily kind of hear your take and the type of work you're doing alongside them in that regard. But kind of last question here before we bring it home. What is the biggest lesson you've learned thus far scaling a robotics business? Trying to share some wisdom with the fellow entrepreneurs who are listening on.
So like I said, we're slightly different approach of a company. We're a full stack business, which means that it's a large level of complexity. But the way we looked at full stack and the reasons why we chose full stack will probably make for a very long answer. I think the short answer to your question is, I would say speed wins above all else. Being able to be fast in the market gives you incredible advantages. Not so much, and I don't even want to talk much about competition here, but in terms of being able to iterate with your customers, being able to build that confidence that people have in your technology and the knowledge that you have to bring solutions by leveraging this technology that really answers their problems. And I know this firsthand because we presented various levels of our technology to customers, and we told them, look, we're going to be bringing this robot. It's going to be huge. It's going to be very, very tall, scan the entire warehouse. We're going to scan over 10, 15,000 pallets an hour. And people were looking at us and saying, how long is this going to take? 5 years, 6 years? And we said, no, it's going to be 6 months. And they said, okay, if you guys do this, this is going to be unbelievable. It's very, very important with new technologies to build that customer confidence. This is complex things. We're talking about relatively new product introduction in the market. So that customer relationship is very important. And the other big thing I would add here, I think you have to be bullish on the vision that you have for the product and the way you bring that product into the market. Especially as we're talking new technologies, I think it's not easy because you can't, you go back to the old example with Henry Ford, you can't rely on building the faster horse, right? And a lot of the time, because it's so new and it brings so much exponential value, it almost looks like it's not possible to bring that into the market. So you have to be bullish on how and what you want to bring into the market and how that solves the customer problems.
Amazing. Well, with that, Andrei, I want to conclude with a bit of this or that. And I effectively give you two choices and just your quick 20-second responses to why you picked what you will pick. So,
yep.
To start off with, AMRs or articulated arms?
AMRs for logistics, yeah.
OpEx or CapEx?
I gave that one away earlier, OpEx.
And then warehouses or manufacturing plants?
I would say warehouses, the beating heart of the logistics industry.
Amazing. Andrei, it's been awesome to kind of see what you're doing at Dexory over the years. We wish you continued success and look forward to continue cheering you on. Cheers.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks for watching. Follow us at dynamo.vc for all the latest episodes. We'll see you next time.